Okay, everyone, we're recording. Right, okay, so welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's great to see you all. I've said it's already going to be recorded, this video, so anyone who joins, feel free to let them know in the chat that the recording is on. They'll probably be notified by Zoom anyway. For those who don't know me, which is very likely you won't know me, I'm Dave Smith. Get Dave on Slack, on WordPress.org, various things. I'm kind of facilitating the session today, along with Dan and Javier. And the idea of the session today really is that we need to look at the navigation editor and bring it out of the experimental status. And the reason we need to do that really is to get feedback. So those of you who remember, the widgets editor had a similar sort of process that whilst it was in experimental, it wasn't enabled for users by default. Therefore, people didn't find it. Therefore, the feedback cycle wasn't great. So what the widgets editor did is remove that experimental status and just to link someone else in. And by doing that, they got a lot more feedback. So the aim is that we do the same thing for the navigation editor. Hi, Isabel. But the main thing is to be in hi. In order to do that, to get rid of this experimental flag, really, I think it's fair to say we need to sort of keep a feature parity, at least achieve that feature parity between the classic navigation screen, which is the one that already exists in core at the moment, and the new, hello, welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're recording, by the way, everyone who's just joined. I'm just giving a brief introduction of the point of the session today. So as I was saying, what we need to do is remove the experimental status and in order to get feedback. But to do that, we need to have a feature parity between the two screens, the block-based screen, which is the new screen we're all talking about, and the old screen, which is the classic screen. I think we're probably not going to be able to achieve parity of sort of underlying developer APIs and hooks and things like that. They will be supported, but not necessarily by the point we remove experimental. So I think the focus could be, and I'm interested in feedback from everyone here, is that we could try and look to achieve at least a UI and UX feature parity. And that would be a good sort of goal to aim for, and probably something that's fairly realistic. And if we can get the screen sort of functioning pretty much the same and you can achieve all the same things within reason, then I think it's probably pretty acceptable that we remove the experimental status, and therefore it will be the new block-based screen will be the default experience in the Gutenberg plugin when the plugin is activated. If we remove the experimental status, I'd just like to reiterate that doesn't mean that the Nav Editor is ready to merge into core. It's not ready to merge into core just because we're removing that experimental status. I think we need to be clear about that. We won't be merging this into core until 5.9 at the absolute earliest. And I'll just say again, that is not guaranteed. We'll just have to see what the progress is. And we all know things can change. Things might come out the woodwork we hadn't expected. So we're not guaranteeing 5.9. But yeah, just to make that clear, really. Any questions at this point? No?
No, that sounds like a good introduction.
Cool. So before we started, I just want to reiterate the terminology a little bit, just to be absolutely crystal clear. If we're talking about the Nav Editor or the new Nav Editor or the block-based Nav Editor, what we're talking about is the block-based experience for creating navigations, which is basically powered by Gutenberg and is new and what is currently experimental. If we're talking about the old legacy or classic navigation screen, then what we're referring to is what you currently get in an out-of-the-box install of WordPress under appearance menus at nav-menus.php. Just to be absolutely clear about that. Cool. So the format of today's discussion is basically very loose. Feel free to come off mute. In fact, I'd encourage you all to come off mute unless you're in some noisy cafe or something. But please do, because the more people who feel able to contribute, the better. The session will run for about an hour, 40 minutes or something like that. And we'll be taking some informal notes, but obviously it's going to be a recording and we'll post a summary at the end. And to kick things off, we have a nice little spreadsheet here, which I did post in the comments in the agenda. And let me just put it in the chat for everybody. that should be accessible. It's a Google spreadsheet, purely for collaboration purposes, really. But that should be accessible to everyone, but let me know if you can't see it.
Yeah, so I guess it's worth saying that the spreadsheet just kind of follows the structure that was laid out on the agenda. And yeah, so Javier, Dave, and I have just spent some time kind of filling in what we think is kind of important in each of those sections. But yeah, we'll kind of walk through that and then gain some additional feedback from everyone in the channel, from everyone in the meeting. Yeah, so I think that would be kind of be the process.
I have a question before we start. So does like completing the tracking issue means like we can move out from the experimental phase, or it's not defined yet what will be like actual line when we can move out and like override the core menu item?
Within the plugin, we will move experimental status, and it will remain. Then once we removed it within the plugin, it will become the block paste experience for the navigation editor will become default.
Right.
But it won't be in WordPress core, as it were. Obviously, yeah. Okay, cool. The tracking issue, yeah. I think the idea is that the tracking issue is quite large and was due for some reprioritization. I think thus hopefully the point of this call. So what the aim would be is after this call, if we can have gone through all the things, taken feedback from you all as well, then we can start to look to reprioritize that tracking issue around the things we discussed today. So it probably been deprioritizing some things, adding some new things, and moving things around. Yeah, currently I don't think it reflects what is required to get out of experimental status, but that's the goal. So you should be able to look at after some point in the next week or so, should be able to look at that tracking issue. And if someone could post that tracking issue in the chat, that would be really helpful. You should be able to look at that tracking issue, and in the high priority section of that tracking issue, you should see these are the core things that need to be done to remove experimental. And maybe we should put that clearly in the notes next to the high priority. This is what is required to remove experimental. Then everyone knows like these are the key things to focus on.
For the widgets editor, we use the tracking issue in the following way. So we've always had a top section in that tracking issue, which is basically the next goal that we should try and achieve around the project. For instance, right now with the navigation editor, the next goal would be to remove the experimental flag. So once that is complete, then we have to see what's next and so on and so forth. But beyond that next goal, the tracking issue is also trying to, track what other areas are still not ready in the project. And it's trying to also define a high level overview of what we're trying to achieve. Compatibility with the old editor, API updates, customizer updates. So large sections of the project and whatever is outstanding there. And the more time passes, all those things eventually end up in that top section that we call high priority, which is basically our next goal. It's a perpetual next thing. Just wanted to add this.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I was able to like watch the progress on the widget screens at the end. So I have some ideas on that as well.
Yeah.
Great, sounds good. I mean, I think we should certainly take the learnings that we can from the widgets editor process. So yeah, thanks for that, Andre. That's really helpful. Okay. So Dan, Javier, we've got the spreadsheet. I know that you've added quite a few issues to it. Would anyone like to share their screen, or would you like me to share my screen? What would you prefer?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
Just figure out how to use Zoom.
I just enabled it.
Everyone see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. Thanks, Dan.
So should we just start going through these one by one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first item is one that I added, and it's that the accordion structure is visually messy. So probably easiest if I actually, yeah, actually can't share. Oh no, I can, can't I? Let me just actually go into the navigation editor and show you what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Maybe in a new tab.
Yeah, just give me a second. Oh wait, actually, I'm not quite a good stage to do that. I think 'cause I'm running on a dev branch.
Okay. I'm not. So if you want me to share screen, I can.
Yeah,
do
should
that.
I stop sharing? And then you can
Okay.
do that.
No worries. Hopefully this will work. You can see the editor.
Yeah.
Over here so I can see what's going on. So it says accordion. So this is when things are like nested, right?
Yeah, so
if I add a
that
new
was it,
item.
like-
And then
yeah,
add
as you
another
can see,
one.
like the spacing is not very good. The arrows are a bit too close to the text, and you can't really get a good idea of the structure, like how far an item is nested,
Yeah.
or where that appender is going to add an item as well is a problem.
It's a lot of visual noise, isn't there?
Yeah. So I think Javier raised this in an issue as well, right?
Yes, there is an issue that talks about the whole look and feel of all the items. And for me, that's probably one of the most important issues in terms of user UI, basically.
Yeah. I think technically this has kind of gotten worse because the navigation editor uses the navigation block as an underlying kind of block to drive the menu experience, but it actually kind of uses its own styling on top of the navigation block styles. So technically, as the navigation block styles change, the navigation editor is kind of prone to some styling issues.
That was a problem. I was looking at some of this right before the meeting and then seeing that in icon seems to add a sub menu. Having that inserted to the right or to the left of say the top icon would kind of signal that it will add icons along it or something like that.
I lost a bit what you said actually there, pal.
Okay.
Whether it was my connection or yours, I'm sorry.
It's mine. Having the inserter icon below, it just kind of, it seems kind of confusing because you don't know if it adds to the sub menu or if it adds a new top menu icon. Having it to the right or left, it kind of shows that this is a new menu area, or so that kind of would help a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
On the flip side, I would almost want it to look like the list view thing.
Oh yeah, I was about to, we
the
have
list
this
views.
list view.
Yeah, I think spacing in a list view is much better.
Yeah, and also in
That's
terms of functionality, like you can very easily drag and drop and create some menus, and the interface is really nice. Like you can see the type of the element of the item. So I think that's a very good reference to use as a the standard, or the point we should try to get at.
Yeah, I think icons also fix the issue that they brought up, that it's hard to distinguish between the types by just looking at the whole menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there is another issue here somewhere about the list view and how we could, well, we should not hide it within the top layer. We should put it like all the other editor screens. It should be the same user pattern of having it over to the left or whatever, so it expands out and we can see it Just because people will start looking like, where is that? And they're not going to know it's here. I don't think anyway.
Yeah, that navigation bar, that one is, I think, is not useful right now. Like if we remove that list item, the only functionality left is copy navigation, I think, in the Ellipses menu. So, so maybe we can get rid of that as well.
Well, there's the selecting the parent element too.
But in this case, there is no parent element, right?
Yeah, it being the parent. Yes, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the two are not so different. If we have a list view on the left and then the navigation editor on the right, and the navigation editor is about editing a hierarchy of elements itself, it feels like a lot of overlap between the two. I wonder if you can somehow integrate them.
Yes.
True.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, same.
It was logical to have the list views, I suppose, when the layout of the navigation editor was horizontal, but now it's vertical. It's almost like, yeah, visually almost identical. Would it add? Sorry, go on. Go ahead.
We will provide at some point in the future the possibility to build a menu using the full-featured block. So that's the case when the list view is going to become more useful as a schematic list of content. But for simple menus, which are just nested sets of links, it just feels to me like the list view is better than the block for that.
So can I confirm what you mean is you're going to be able to build more complex menus with other types of blocks, and so therefore you'd need to be able to see them in the list view? Is that what you meant?
Yeah. In the future. Right now, we're just focused on parity with the old screen. But at some point, we'll want to enable the block as it is in, without modification to be used in the screen.
Right. Enable the navigation block without modifications, where it has all its sort of bells and whistles available. So you could create, for example, like a complex mega menu that might have like a featured download in the drop down and all the sorts of things that we see out in the wild. Yeah. Okay, so therefore the list view could still have a utility aside. But yes, there is quite a lot of overlap at the moment. Okay.
I think for the thing mentioned earlier with disabling the ellipsis menu, I know there is an issue for that, and there has been some work around this. But although it seems to be a very simple thing, it's not. Like the block editor never assumed that you will want to remove that from a block. So there is no way to just remove it, except maybe hide it. And it kind of ties into the general problem that this project is trying to solve, how to enable and disable various things without just overriding the behavior of the editor or the blocks, and then having a brittle solution in place.
Yeah, sorry to be a moderator, but I think we've got a lot to get through, so we should probably try and
let's move on.
Move on from this first item.
Okay. So insert and menu options are not ordered in a logical way. Okay. So if we add a new item here, let's do that. So they're not ordered in a logical way. I think this is yours, isn't it, Dan? You brought this one up.
Yeah, so it's the same issue really for the navigation block. So potentially this could be something that's fixed as part of the block itself. Yeah, these, I think they show based on kind of frequency and recency. So how recently you used it and how frequently you used it. But a lot of people are going to be using the navigation editor for the first time. So I don't know what order they show in when there's no frequency or recency. So yeah, it could just be a random order really, but it feels like page should always be first. It should generally be the same order as you see in the classic menu screen.
I wonder, with the recent idea, I don't know if you've been following the discussion around the navigation block and how to simplify it, because currently you want to build a navigation with just links, and you click the inserter and you have all these suggestions, and the suggestion to add a link is not necessarily the most obvious one. So there's this idea of actually getting the inserter to insert a link by default when you click. So you click the inserter, instead of getting the choice, you just get a link, and then you're able to transform it into something else if you want to. So I'm assuming that because the editor is using the navigation block, then we would also get that behavior in the editor.
We would, I
Yes.
believe. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm quite in favor of that. I think it's a confusing experience to have as a user to pick these. I mean, I can say from my experience in agency land, when I used to have to teach clients how to use WordPress, the first thing that would confuse them is what's a post and what's a page. And we're asking, there's a menu system that says build, I don't know what a post is if I'm not familiar with WordPress, or I don't know what a page is. I'll probably get there, but they just want to add a link. And oh, here's some existing content I've got. The inserter should be intelligent enough to be able to determine that. I think it is almost like as a sort of convenience for us in serializing the data, because we need to know what the type of the link is. Is it a page? Is it a post, that we can save it to the nav menu items in the database? But we could probably find a way to make it a bit more intelligent and logical, so we don't have this second step and putting too much onus on the user, basically.
Nevertheless,
all right, I'll go ahead. Even if you start typing the title of a thing that you want to link to, we could show both pages and post, and whatever you click, we transform the block into that specific type of link. And also, one thing against having these suggestions being based on frequency of usage, if I click that plus inserter like a lot of times, I want to find like a page link or post link, whatever I look for, in the same slot every time, right? I don't want them to move around every time I click the inserter.
Yeah. In either case, we're going to inherit this enhancement from the block. Do you agree that this is not something that the editor should improve? I mean, it should be the behavior of the block.
It might not be a high priority issue for the nav screen, but I think it is something that we kind of need to shepherd into making sure it gets done in the right way, and making sure it's done in a way that's compatible with the navigation editor. Because I think the proposal at the moment for a start is that you can just add pages using the plus, using the appender, and that the main block library is used for inserting other kinds of blocks. But the problem is that the navigation screen doesn't actually have a main block library. So we need to add that in the nav editor. So there might be some follow-on issues as a result of changes to the block.
Cool.
Right. So there's a few things to do there on inserter menu options, some of which may come from the block, some of which we may to shepherd. Okay.
Could we just click into the navigation and start writing without clicking the inserter? And then if you start writing, for instance, AB for about, the link control will show up suggesting to add the about page.
Right. So you would have you would have sort of a blank space, like something like that, and then you just click and start typing, "Hello, this is a link," or whatever, and then
the link control would come up, adding some suggestions.
Well, if you press enter, I think you can just insert a new link by pressing enter, right? You have to be at the end of the. No, does it not work?
Oh, there we go. It did work, but I don't know how.
There you go. And then you can just start typing.
Okay.
So if that was the same interaction as with tags in many places, so you start typing, you get all the suggestions for matching things, and then also one suggestion that says create new.
Right.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think it points to another dependency of this whole project is the link UI, which is, if you don't know it, it's rather complex, and is becoming more complex over time. And it feels to me like the demand, which is good, the demands of this project and of the block are going to force that to make change, because I don't see that it's going to be able to accommodate a lot of the things we've even talked about just now, based on my knowledge of it. So that's going to be an interesting one to sort of a hoop to jump over. But it's definitely work to do there that could make it a lot easier to add links.
The problem with the link UI is that adding a menu item is a different thing from creating a link.
Are we getting maybe too tactical, like with this?
Yes. Let's move on to the next
Absolutely.
thing.
Right, so new menu creation process. Naming a menu is okay, but navigation blocks place so it doesn't fit the style of the screen. Okay, so hallway menu, create.
Oh,
That's good.
So that will have to be fixed.
Well, there's an error. That wasn't happening yesterday, so that's not great. I've just pulled Trump.
Somebody
so
fixed it.
who broke it? Oh dear. Pop over. Oh, this is not helpful. Okay, let me try it one more time, just for luck. And if not, I'll try and find an old branch maybe that's not got the latest. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it was obviously that initial interaction. I've just reloaded and it's brought up my whole. Okay, let's just proceed from there and just pretend that didn't happen. Just forget that happened. So it doesn't fit the style of the screen. Who would like to elaborate here?
Everyone I added. So,
okay.
And again, this is partly because that we're using the navigation block, and the navigation block has been kind of created for full site editing. So you kind of get this kind of gray hashed out kind of menu structure. This is like what a placeholder menu might look like, but it doesn't really suit the style of the screen. Like a user isn't kind of prompted to click into that to edit it after creating a menu. So I think that's a bit of a problem.
Yes,
waiting for it to load.
Yep.
Mike, that's exactly what I was going to say. Exactly the same thing. That I was thinking that we were waiting for it to load the interface.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a bit of a problem. Okay, so it doesn't look editable. It doesn't look like it's loading.
We can consider it an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Misleading Easter egg.
Helpful.
Yeah.
What about choosing between vertical and horizontal? And if one chooses a horizontal, the box will be much wider. And if it's vertical, it'll be kind of like the size that it is right now.
So in the classic menu screen, you can't actually switch between a horizontal or a vertical menu. So that won't be supported in the basic version of the navigation screen because there's no way to achieve backwards compatibility with that. But it will be supported. What the themes will be able to do at some point in the distant future is that they'll be able to opt in to say that I can style. I support styles for navigation blocks, so I support those horizontal and vertical styles. And then at that point, the Nav Editor will kind of support those additional features. So that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're discussing today.
Okay, I mentioned it because that area is so narrow. I was expecting it to be wider.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have an issue that I can link you to, Pal. Maybe I'll drop it into the navigation channel that discusses kind of how I see the editor may be working when themes can support more than just the basic menu. And in that, I kind of suggest that maybe it would be more like just editing an actual navigation block. Can you find it?
What I'm really missing on a new menu item is really a call to action something. If you enter a new Gutenberg page, you have the plus sign on the top left to add something to the blocks, but it's really missing something here.
Yeah.
Okay. The initial experience is very much like we've dumped you in a screen, work it out, rather than sort of hand holding people towards this is your first step you should be taking.
Yeah.
If you click the placeholder, this right now, like this will be more or less the thing that people should see. Like I think if you click right now, you're going to see the actions, and there is a design and there's an issue that has to do with the placeholder initial state. But the idea is having something like this, like you can actually start doing stuff. So I don't think we need I don't think we need that placeholder state. It doesn't help you do anything, right? It's confusing. So
it serves well in the site editor, but it doesn't serve as well here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So another example of how we need to sort of make the nav block conform to the nav editor in certain circumstances.
We can display the like start empty state, which shows the block appender, and then like add all pages is the setting. Yeah, maybe style it. Yeah, I think something like that. And I don't think we should allow choosing existing menu, maybe not in the first version at least. That's not a feature.
Yeah, that maybe is secondary thing.
Yeah.
There are some designs, aren't there, for improving this placeholder? I think in the linked issue on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So it might be good to just quickly look at those.
Yep. Can we see them?
Do we have to look at those designs now?
No, but I just thought it might be of interest to everyone who's attending. I can just put the link to it in the chat.
If you find them, yeah, I just looked for placeholder, I couldn't find it.
Here we go.
Right, okay. Have you found it, V? Oh yeah, in the chat, okay.
Yeah, but I think design is just iteration on the core design, so not the.
Yeah.
Not like, you know, start adding menu items right away. The user still has to choose between the states, which are pretty new to compared to old editor.
Okay, so we need a relook at this initial state as a major task, don't we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on to responsive styles? We've got quite a lot to get through. We might have to speed this up a little bit. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of the styles could use finesse on mobile viewports. I am sure that will be the case. Mobile viewports. I will emulate a mobile viewport for us all now.
Yeah, it's not too bad actually, but the top bar, you lose some of the items. So you can no longer go open the more menu at the very top.
It's not the best.
I mean the editor more menu, and the
oh, I see.
block settings as well. You can't scroll across there. So
no, yeah, you can't over here. So over here, if you can see my cursor, like, I don't know if you can see it, but there is hidden.
Yeah.
Hello. There it is.
You just got it.
Not good.
So yeah, there's a few things that need to be improved. And maybe the spacing and stuff like that could be better. I think Javier noticed a few things in the linked issue as well. It's on the spreadsheet.
Yeah, there's some issues with the snack bars and the error messages when you do something wrong. Then you can do anything basically. Okay, but I think they're quite easy to fix. At least it's like CSS things, I guess, in most of the cases.
Yeah. How important do we think this is for like the experimental flag to be removed? And do you think the screen gets a lot of usage on mobile?
No, I tend to think everything gets a lot more usage on mobile than we think it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a high priority thing for removing the experimental flag.
Yeah, it's a high priority thing to go into core, but yeah,
yes,
for the experimental flag, probably. Yeah.
How responsive is the current screen? Because I mean, WP admin in general has some issues with responsivity.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I noted later on the spreadsheet, is that the new screen's still a lot better than the old screen.
Oh, nice.
How do I?
It's very long. It's very long and hard to navigate.
You can kind of scroll across to it, but
yeah.
I mean, it's not what I'd call optimized. Let's put it that way.
Perhaps we already have kind of feature parity enough to remove the experimental flag, but there's still lots of things we can improve here.
I think it would be good to sort of tick off at least, you know, being able to open the block settings and those like the basic things. It doesn't have to be like every possible piece of interaction is sorted, but like accessing the key parts of Gutenberg should be a feature.
That's a good point.
I think for experimental.
Okay, sounds good.
just typing a note. Key parts of interface. Can't type today, never mind. Right. So next up, page list block can be created, which is unsupported, right? Fair enough. It's not the best. Let's look at this quickly. Go away, DevTools. Page list. Why can I not see this page list?
I think it's from the placeholder state when you get like all the pages.
Yeah, exactly.
So I need to go to this one. Add all the
pages.
Cunning.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even think we should use this block in the default simple version of the navigation editor.
No, I agree. So the issue is just to remove it.
Don't we have, in the current menu screen, is it possible to create a dynamic menu with the pages?
What?
Because that's the only thing that the page list block does is it allows you to have the menu update dynamically with new pages that are added.
You can say automatically add new top level pages.
Is this
this already exists? This already exists as a feature in the sidebar, and this is a property of the classic menus. The reason why we needed the block is because block menus don't have that feature.
Yeah, but I mean, if this is a property of classic menus and we aim to provide feature parity with the classic menu screen, then we need the page list block to work.
It's already in there, though, that feature. It's added to the navigation screen.
Is this one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, yes. I see. Okay, right. So it's just done differently, right?
So hold on. So you're saying if I remove this block, this page list block, and I just add nothing, and then I say turn this on, what's going to happen?
You're going to get a new page if you create a new page.
Yeah,
right. I see.
Probably
I see. So I see what
looking like save page, like save post, and then if you have that checked in, it will automatically add that.
Right. Okay. Oh, we don't need to do that now. But okay, let's just say that works. So therefore, we probably don't necessarily need that page list support then.
Technically, there's no way to support it because this block is dynamic, and the classic menu format doesn't support dynamic things like that.
Okay. It's not the end of the world. Something. Go on.
However, we can keep the add all pages thing as a thing, but we just don't use the block. We add all the pages as menu items.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Manually, which is incidentally, I think what it used to do, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I worked on that at some point. Turn position manually on the page list block. Okay, I'm just updating the spreadsheet if anyone's wondering what I'm doing. I put that as low. It's something we need to do, but it's not like a critical thing that's going to spoil everyone's experience from now. Right, theme opt-in causes editor to look like a mess or crash. Okay, when the theme opt-in is enabled, blocks like search don't fit the accordion style of the editor. Oh, right, so when we're enabling so when we start with out of the box, we get a very limited set of items, but if we opt in with certain feature flags, then we're going to get things like home link, social icons, something else I can't quite remember, but there's a few blocks that have been whitelisted if there's a certain flag on, but they obviously don't look very good then.
Yeah, my feeling is we should just not support that theme opt-in to start with. Just like remove support for it before. Enabling the experiment flag. I mean, that could even be an experiment in itself, the theme opt-in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm thinking the same. It's just too defocusing to work on that at the same time. It's just going to create more problems that will complicate the stuff that we're trying to do already. So, yeah.
Okay. Yep, makes sense. Menu location modal doesn't save the settings. That sounds like a bug.
Yeah, I think George raised this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that model replaces the second page, like second tab in the in the current navigation screen. So
that's pretty important.
Yeah. I think we have like a few options, like Daniel suggested, like batching the saving. So I'm pretty sure it's fixable. I just didn't have time to go back to it after I initially reported. So
high, medium, what do we think?
yeah, I think
that's high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Support for menu titles that include special characters. Okay, this is me. Briefly, when I created Dave's nav, it came out with that. So that's another bug. It looks rubbish, but I'd say it's a low priority thing, but it should be a simple fix wherever we are.
It's not a low priority. It's not a low priority. Sorry?
Other languages with special characters?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, I think API encodes the responses, so we just need to decode them. So
okay. So would we like me to move this up to a medium priority rather than the low or high? Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes good points about other languages as well. I haven't really considered that.
It sounds very basic, so we should support titles like with everything in them.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so let's make sure that works. URL is malleable even if the link is of a fixed type. This is me again, just to show you what I mean. If I add a page and I set the page to be this one, that's great. But then I can still go here, go edit, and then I can just go, oh, I'm going to change it to something that's not a page and enter. And it's still a page link, but it's not linking to a page. So that could get quite confusing later on if we put like indicator saying this is a page and it's not linking to a page at all. And we shouldn't think that our users will, transform the block to a custom link, because that just won't happen. So it needs to be dynamic somehow, or we make the system intelligent enough to automatically do the conversion, or some other solution, basically. If anyone's got any ideas.
I don't want to derail the call too much, but why do we even need different types of a block for that? If, like, as you said, if it was smart enough, like you would give it something and it would know what to do.
They're not different types of blocks. They're variations of the navigation item block.
But still, it's still...
The experience is bad. I just wanted to say they're not different blocks.
Yeah, that's fair. I think this, correct me if wrong, but it comes back to the conversation we had right at the beginning where we were talking about how the link UI isn't sort of intelligent enough, or we're not using it in a way that makes it intelligent enough. So I think that's wrapped up in that conversation.
Yeah, I think that's the same problem.
Yeah.
So there's two things here. First, Dave's issue, I think it probably can be just worked out that when you edit the link, you automatically end up with a custom link, and that's it. So you just don't keep the initial variation that you used, and that's I think that's a good standard behavior. The other problem that Adam highlighted, there's an ongoing discussion, and that's also something pertaining to the block. I know that I read an issue on GitHub about Woo, for instance, adding lots of these variations. And the topic there is how many possible navigation link variations can you have until it becomes overwhelming. Like you have page and product, and for all custom post types, what if you have 20 different post types? And it becomes very overwhelming at some point. So I think this is still something to figure out, but it's not critical for us it's not blocking and not keeping this screen as experimental.
No. you can still use the navigation with the search to find your product. It might not be optimal, but nonetheless, you can find your product. But it's just clearly there could be much better workflows. Yeah, but for getting out of experimental, it's not something we need to do. But URL being malleable, I mean, it feels like, I feel like it's a low priority item because at the end of the day, it's semantics, sort of like, that's what I feel at the moment, but we can revise these.
Does that link technically works after you change the URL?
Yeah.
I think there might be someone in the waiting room, by the way.
Oh,
Dave.
Okay, sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay, I will admit them.
How did you know that, Dan?
Hello.
He posted on Slack.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for doing that. It did have a little red thing, but it's so minimal when. Hi, thanks for joining. Sorry that you were in the waiting room for a little bit. I've just been notified, so thanks for being patient. We're recording the call, just so you know, it's video recorded, but as your video isn't enabled, that's fine. So we're working through this list of the comparison. We're comparing the old screen, navigating screen, with the new one, the block-based one. And we're halfway down. We've got sort of 10-15 minutes left, so we're going to accelerate a little bit again. So the menu switcher doesn't show after deleting a menu. Okay, that's not great.
Yeah, it's actually, this isn't really a feature parity thing, it's just a bug I noticed, so we can probably just skip past this one.
Okay. So the switcher doesn't show up.
I think it has to do how we select the next menu, and I think I have a fix for that. So
okay,
but it can be low priority.
Right, noted, done. Thank you. Missing type indicators on nav items. Right, me again. Witness the thing, it says page here and custom link here, which shows the type of the nav item. Compare and contrast with what you see here, which shows you nothing apart from if you click block, which means then you have to select each individual item. These ones are name tag, which is a bit confusing, but these ones are actually categories. So if I go there, so I wouldn't know their categories until I looked over here and I have to click on them. So I also checked in the list view and it doesn't show them there either. So I think I just felt like it would be nice as a user to be able to see the type, if that is still to remain a thing.
On this view, were the icons fulfilling this role?
Question.
Yes,
they
maybe. Yeah,
they do to an extent. It depends how much emphasis you place on iconography as a.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not an accessibility expert, but I would imagine there are some concerns around using purely visual cues.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we'd need a text substitute, or like it's better for accessibility if it's in text.
Yes.
And not just an icon, or we could have the option to turn off icons and turn them into text like we have in the block editor.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one.
To ask, what's the use of knowing this? That is a category on a glance. Like if you click on it, it shows you this. Like I know it's a parity thing, but it's one of those things where you wonder, why do we have to port this exactly as it is? So the information is there. Once you focus on menu item, you will learn what it is. The question is, why is it useful to know the type of every menu item just by looking at it without interaction? What's the use case of knowing that?
Very good question.
No idea.
Yeah,
it seems. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
It seems related to the topic we were talking about earlier, with it being most important to make it easy to enter in things, as opposed to knowing whether a particular item that's being inserted is for a poster page or things like that.
Yeah, I think also custom post types keep the reference of the ID, and when you update the page, like Sluggy should update it automatically, so you don't get like 404.
It does do that, yeah. If you update the title of the page, it will pull the page title update as well. Okay, well, look, I mean, it's something to consider. The issue is there, so we can add discussion to that. Whether or not that's a critical thing, again, it's, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a super high priority thing. Any opinions on a priority there?
Probably low, but yeah, I think it's an interesting one as well, because it kind of takes the screen further away from how the block works if we add this in as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could look at doing inserter or explore different options there, I guess. But it's a good point. So you could make a note of that actually if you want to in the sheet. Ability to see nested levels at a glance. Yeah, so all I'm referring to here is, if you look at this one, like I have to manually go through like how many levels. I don't know how many levels there could be here. Like there could be like loads. I have to click through them all. I was reminded afterwards that let's get back up to the top. I was reminded afterwards you can go to list view and see all these. So again, probably not the end of the world. You can still access all the levels, you just can't see them all in one go. And there is the list view. Perhaps if the list view is more prominent, it would be less of a problem.
Can one just click the first, the top parent item and just kind of see the whole submenu structure? I know we can't do that today, but how about just kind of doing something?
Oh, I see. So if I click on this one, it just expands everything in one big go.
Right.
Okay, as long as we have a hierarchy, like we can just show all the nesting, all the nested levels by default. Like it won't work with mega menus or anything like that. But in this view, like why not just make it the default thing?
Again, same problem as earlier with showing a label about the type of menu item at a glance. Why do we have to keep this automatically expanded?
Because I want to see the menu. I want to know like what the items are, right? Like without clicking 500 times.
Yeah, that will
But
help also
then,
to move items inside of other items, create submenus.
yeah, in that case, we just need to expand it by default, right?
When you click, yeah, maybe, or some means to do that. Yeah.
No, I mean, every item expanded by default.
Oh, you mean when you land on the screen?
And we also solved the first problem that we have in the spreadsheet, that the accordions are not great. So just remove accordions and we're done.
Okay.
It would be nice to just click the top parent to open or close to submenu tree.
Yeah.
I think that like we don't have to go full hog on it. We could just do the first one, which is just click the top level and expand. Seems like a good compromise
Or
solution.
we could have a control in the toolbar that says expand all.
Yeah, that's one of my suggestions.
A pattern that I've seen in other software. Yeah.
Or collapse, yeah. Just everyone just going collapse, 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 too many things. Low, high, medium.
My opinion is it's important, but it's not necessarily a blocker for keeping this experimental.
Yep.
Yeah. Medium sounds good probably for that.
I think if we're putting something as a priority, then we're saying it's a blocker.
I think so, yeah.
So if we give it a priority, otherwise we need to say not blocker, like this is something we don't put on the.
If it's generally, I think if it's high, then it's probably stopping us from moving forward with the project itself. So it's high.
Okay, right, we'll come back to it if we need to. Multiple clicks are required to create a menu. Oh yeah, right, sorry. Here on the old screen, you can just click here from any point to create a new menu. Okay, granted, it's not the most obvious thing in the world. But here on our screen, how do I create a new menu?
Yeah, you have to go to the switch.
I know how to do it.
But, yeah.
But yeah, you're right, exactly that. You're going to have to imagine how many times you'd have to tell your client or your user or remind yourself where do you do that? Like it feels like it's hidden, like mystery meat to find this.
Yeah. Funny enough, it used to work just like that.
Should it be inserted
sorry, go ahead.
outside the menu area?
Say that again, pal. What do you
Should there
think?
be inserter icon, just like adding a block? One has the inserter, one clicks the inserter to add a block. Should we do something like that in here as well?
Like one for add menu.
Yeah,
Go to
insert
sorry,
icon
yeah.
somewhere to add a new menu.
like in other block editors. So this is just a navigation block, and outside it, maybe below it, we could have an inserter and just get that.
Oh no,
That's what
not
you're saying.
that.
Right?
Huh? Do you mean like the plus icon or something over on the left, up at in the top bar or something like that? Is that what you're referring to?
That is a possibility. I'm just kind of comparing this to Gutenberg, where people get used to the Gutenberg flow. One clicks
Yeah, I mean,
the inserter to kind of insert something.
the difference is that other editors only edit one thing, like you can only edit one post at a time in the block editor, in the post editor. Whereas this, you can edit multiple menus at a time. So I think it needs to be a separate UI, but I was just going to say that it actually used to work this way, that there used to be a separate button on the top bar to create a new menu, but then as part of design feedback, it was moved into the switch menu. So no problem in moving it back. Yeah.
What happens to my unsaved changes if I create a new menu?
Good question.
Nobody knows.
You take pot luck at the moment, probably. If I go, it probably just does it. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't. It's going to
You'll lose your changes.
Yeah. Oh, look, it worked this time. That's good.
Yeah, I think we should warn the users.
Yeah, that's not good.
Save changes before leaving menu or something.
Yeah. We do that before they leave the screen, but like not when creating a new menu. Which is
there is an issue. There is an issue for it, but I think it was just missed on this spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's add that in then. I still think, I don't know, it's probably a lower priority item, to be honest. It's not like stopping people from creating menus. So just we could fix it, but it's not. Doesn't feel like a huge thing. Ability to add items to navigation in bulk. Right. This is my pet peeve. If you are on the old screen, you can do that and then just dump all your items into the screen, which is surprisingly useful on many occasions. For example, when you're first creating your site menu, you just want to add all my stuff and then I'll drag and drop and remove as I want, as opposed to R1, which we all know and love, which is we have to manually do this extremely laborious process. Oh my goodness. And imagine if they weren't that, like I have to find another page, or it's going to take me forever to add just a simple menu. So that was what I'm referencing there. And I know that Javier has got a design on that issue, which I've referenced in the spreadsheet, which has like a modal that will open, and you can basically do that same bulk add mechanic. Yes, it moves slightly away from the direct manipulation paradigm that's sort of part of Gutenberg, but I think in some cases that's kind of natural and okay. I can't think of a good mechanic to add many items in line. I think we even explored some, but it just all felt quite clunky. So that was what we were looking at. But that is a feature parity one that's completely missing. So for me, that's quite an important one. But I'm willing to be swayed.
Yeah, I think they should be high priority. This is definitely a feature that many people have used before.
Yep. Anyone disagree?
I think I saw some attempts at designing an UX for this, but I don't remember if it was about the editor or the blog. But definitely, I saw some designs where you could select multiple items and then add them all at once.
There you go.
Okay. So
I put it in the chat.
Kind of like a multi-select.
Yeah, it's just it's like a dialog that opens up, and you can just go search for your type of thing, and then or just select from the bulk. And it came up in FSC call for testing, so Anne referenced it quite a few times as well. So I think it's probably high. It's probably good. Right, we're at the top of the hour, so if anyone needs to leave them, feel free. But I think we could just crack on for these last ones. They actually are the last items here, so we'll just get through those. That'd be really, really good. Appreciate your patience, everyone. So bulk removal of items. is just if you like, you can somehow, I can't remember. Oh yeah, like this. You can do like bulk actions on things, I think. Where did I find that?
I think that's a new feature to the navigation.
Yeah, so they're like these.
But what can you do after you select them?
Well, that's what I was just thinking. I'm
And
sure.
at the
like-
bottom, down at,
Delete
you
it.
scroll right down to the very bottom.
Oh yeah.
Remove
Oh right.
selected items.
Oh boy.
Great. And I like the way the
Okay.
terminology is, look, delete. Oh no, fair enough. They did get it right. Oh, fair play. That's good. So it removes. Yeah, so I remember seeing this being added and thinking, oh right, it's another thing we need to. So it's a really good. No, but I mean, like, it's a good thing, like, right, we should have this feature. I mean, if you have to, it's good that you can select, like, you don't have to select all of them and you can still remove, so that's cool. But that, again, that's probably going to be at least medium or high, I would have thought, because it's a parity thing again.
Yes, and it's.
Sorry, I was just
can
going to say,
solve it.
I think it's good
You-
enough in the block editor at the moment that in fact you can delete siblings. Well, you know, you can select multiple blocks and delete them.
Good point. You can do that.
But yeah, you can't select just like
Just
willy-nilly.
delete
It
them.
has to be just like a
Yeah.
range of siblings.
So you can do
So-
this, and then you can say remove blocks, right? But you can't do, I want to select that one and those four. So I can't do that. I'm just trying to do it with control, command, and it doesn't work. And
It
there's
has to be
another
like a
issue.
continuous selection.
Okay, so reframed as low because we can do it. It's just not perfect, but it comes out of the box with block editor, which is great. Nesting via drag and drop. I'm motoring through these now, people. So you can't. Well, I couldn't work out how to nest things with
It does
using
work in
this.
list view, by the way.
Right.
So-
Okay. So I was just like, okay, direct manipulation paradigm. I should be able to go, oh, I want to drag to the right and nest, right? But I can't. I can only go in the level. Let's see what Dan's referring to, which I think he's correct, is that you can. How do I do just drag?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Then
you can
drag
move it around. Can I move
Drag
it
to the
in?
right, and it'll go in. Here you go.
Okay. Okay. So it does. It wasn't super clear, but I mean, to me, that's not giving me an indication it's nesting. But okay, I can see the line moving now. Okay. Right. So there is like, you can see the line moving in one, but it doesn't feel like super clear. But again, it does work. But
It's a general behavior of trees in UIs.
well,
This
let's
thing
compare
with
it.
What you can do though in list view is unnest, which is a bit of a problem. So you can, if there's a block already there, but if there's like a lot of nested blocks, you can't just drag it to any level in list view.
Because here's the existing screen, which is why I raised it, because it's a parity issue. That is far clearer. And so, there are a number of like drag and drop things that have annoyed me with this in the past, but it is quite, it's clearer than what we have. I think it's a lot clearer than what we have.
So jQuery UI is better than block UI.
Definitely, jQuery is much better than React. We all know that. That's the conclusion of this call. Let's
What
just
are we
post
doing
that.
here anyway? We should just stop working. Everything is perfect the way it is.
Just use HTML.
Can we
HTML,
just
CSS.
Can we just
It's
click
tricky.
one of the links and have the border around it similar to the old, and just kind of see the kind of like the square, the border around it, and just kind of drag it to where you need it, similar to how it is right today.
Right. So could we emulate
Yeah.
this sort of visual
Right.
UX, right? So it's just a bit clearer. Basically, it'd be the same as the functionality as we have now, because it does work, like Dan's pointed out, but it's just not visually super clear when we've got that little line showing. See the line moving in? It's just not as clear.
Yeah.
If you have
There
a
are some
border-
there's some separate work going on to improve like list view drag and drop. So that might just come at some point via someone else.
Okay, as it works, I'm going to say low, but it is something that we would like to solve, but it is kind of a lower.
I wanted to add that the navigation block, I know for a fact that it did have at some point the possibility to drag items and nest them without opening the list view. So that was lost somewhere. You were able to drag a menu item, hover over a submenu, and the thing would open and you'd be able to drop it inside.
You can still do that if there's an existing submenu, but the problem is when a block doesn't have a submenu already.
Ah, okay. And does it still work?
Should do. Try it, Dave.
Okay.
What do I need to do?
So try dragging a link into a menu that already has a submenu.
Oh, so if I expand and then try
without expanding it. Okay, drag this one.
Yeah.
And put it into.
No, it doesn't work.
I'm trying to, but it won't let me.
I think it works in the block editor, so that's a navigation editor bug, potentially.
Yeah. I think we should return this behavior. If we lost it because of the weeks, we should probably return this behavior.
Okay, moving up.
I think.
Medium. Moving on. Extensibility. Some extensibility features not supported. Undoubtedly, this is the case.
Yeah, I just thought it was worth mentioning this. Just so it's tracked.
Yeah, this is the reason why we're pushing to remove this experimental flag, so we can learn the extensibility problems.
Yeah, I'm also aware of Elliot Conlon from, previously of ACF, Advanced Custom Fields fame, flagged an issue with the way they extend the existing screen that doesn't work on and couldn't work on the new screen. So there are quite a few, but yeah, Andrew's right. This is stuff that's going to come out in the wash as we disable the experimental. So we're going to have to tackle that. But focusing on UI and UX first. So applicable for now. User-facing help support is not available. The old screen had help. The new screen doesn't have any user documentation. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had an idea for this anyway. So we could just at least add a link in, but it could link to a GitHub README that's kind of like our work in progress user documentation. I think that would be a nice way of just getting around the lack of user documentation, and also means we've got kind of a living document that we continue to update.
I think that'd be really nice.
We can use that during the corridor chat as well. When you kind of facilitate the chat, we just kind of link to update from there maybe.
So this would just be user-facing like help documentation.
Yeah.
So
more of a static document that gets updated as and when features change, rather than a rolling list of feature updates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the tracking issue, I'm intent for the purposes of co-editor chat and updates for the project. I mean, I was thinking of just putting it in the tracking issue for the Nav editor and just saying update this week, this happened. And that should be something that anyone who's involved in the project feels they can do. It's not, no one owns that. It's just, it would just be good to have that update rolling. I think that's actually more important than we think, having that user-facing documentation. Number one, it incentivizes and encourages us to do documentation early. And number two, it also will help alleviate some of the support burden on folks working on the feature, so they can carry on doing sort of development work. I think it's worth doing. I put it as medium.
Yes.
Yeah,
good point.
I agree.
Agreed.
If we do what Dan says, we can do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, let's keep
hopefully it'll be ready before actual release of the feature as well, which would be good.
Oh, we should definitely have it. But yeah, so we can say to people, here's the link to all the basics, so they don't have to like, oh well, I'm just completely lost. Familiarize yourself here a bit first. Nice. Okay, we're at the end of the list. We've got, Dan has put steps for things that are easier to achieve, and the good news is there were 6, 7, 8. I think I'm counting 8 things.
Yeah, I noticed someone added one at the end. I just don't know if that was in the right section. A few more items.
Yeah, I added 2 items to the end.
So these are for things that are easier to achieve in the new editor.
I see. Are you referring to when you create a link that only shows 3?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you then have to. This is where I've got a bit of a problem with it, because then you have to know the name of your page, which presumably you do, but also many times you don't necessarily, because, for example, you may not be the author of said page, and you might not know, but you might have a vague idea a page was added, and then, okay, well, where do I find this? So that it comes back again to that bulk editing UI as well, I think.
What about just writing page and getting up the recently, for instance, the last 5 pages added, and one who just clicks it?
Well, if I typed page and it would bring up
the last 5 pages, and we'll also get an option at the end to just add a new page.
Yeah, but create draft page is still there.
There's also something that could be improved by the bulk menu addition, because you'd be able to use that to hopefully see more results.
I think that's the key. I mean, the problem we've got, and Rolf, you can feel free to jump in here. I mean, we're just riffing on it, but I mean, it's just that you can't see all your pages in one place without having to go back to like
exactly.
admin pages.
In the old admin, menu admin, you can say view all menu items.
Correct. Here, see, and then you can see all of them. Yeah. Because you've got this clear sort of taxonomy of different things where you can go in and say view. I mean, this is, for me, I always want view, but being able to see them all.
We basically rely on the user to know the name of the thing that they want to add, and sometimes you just have to see it to recognize it.
Yeah.
So, and you can see it. So maybe that's a potential. I don't know.
Well, on the recent pages, if you remove the search query for now, you only see 3. Can we just not do if you scroll down, add more or something?
Yeah, that's an idea.
I mean, that's a great idea. I mean, feel free to let's note these things down under the possible solutions column of your item that you've added. That's a good idea. I mean, that seems like a quick win would be to increase that threshold of recent updated. And I think, if I remember correctly, there is a flag for that we can use, but I might be wrong. But yeah, other than that, there could the sort of view all idea, that's the pattern that's already established in the existing screen, could be somehow added here, where you click, maybe there's a whole new button here that says view all or something, and then it brings up the bulk editing UI, and you can see all your posts. You can sort of have tabs of post, pages, categories, or whatever, all the tags, all the custom types you've got, and then you'd be able to see them. It's definitely a flaw, so we should definitely look at that.
Agreed.
Personally, I think it's one of the higher ones.
Yep. So then there was another one above that. Add new menu items, adding new menu items.
Yeah, if you try to add a menu item between the items, there's only 1 pixel height where you can click to add a new item. Yeah,
that in between it. So this is something that we could solve by having a global plus button at the top of the screen, because then that would automatically insert after the block that's selected.
Oh my goodness, I see. Yeah, so you have to be like the most dexterous person in the world to be able to try and trigger this.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you see how I'm hardly moving my mouse, and it's just about that 1 pixel line?
That's a feature of the block editor. It's called the in-between inserter.
Yeah, I had no idea that was possible on this screen.
That's not a good feature.
Another Easter egg.
Yeah. See if you can add a new menu item. Nope. Could we increase the recently added pages?
Should we add some new UI controls to the kind of left side of the whole menu structure?
What?
I'm wondering if we should add some new controls, UI controls, to the left of the whole menu structure, where you can add some has extra controls for helping to create the menu.
Yeah, we have that menu toolbar that's basically having nothing in it, and we keep hitting certain problems, and we can use that to add controls for the stuff that I don't know.
Yeah,
Javier, what do you think?
I don't know what kind of items will we add. What kind of interface are you thinking
Like-
of?
Like for instance, having a global appender, like Dave suggested.
A global appender, there is always visible.
On the top part
Correct.
or of the editor, the
Yeah.
header
Yeah.
area.
I'm thinking, a way to adding kind of like today where one is able to see all the pages, having some kind of way to kind of view the pages and being able to just add them into the menu would be really nice.
Yeah, I
Because
think
that's
that's what we were kind of just discussing with the bulk thing. But
Right.
yeah,
Or
maybe
having some kind of
having
bulk.
other ways to launch that could be an option.
We bring up the design for the bulk thing just so people have context, because I think
Mm.
it's easy for us to, like, we may have seen this design, but where's it gone? That's the add items in bulk.
Oh, that's the wrong link.
That's the wrong one.
Oh, yeah.
I've got it. Here we go. Where is Harry's the last design?
Yeah.
It was that one, right? So look,
Mhm.
here we go. So imagine how this is triggered, up for discussion still, but effectively you get a UI that's along these lines, which is an overlay where you can, is effectively the view all function, where you can see all the different types of things. You could, you would be able to keep scrolling and see every single one of your items that you've got that are pages or posts. You probably need more filtering options. Well, there is a filter here, of course. There we go.
Yeah,
Can you see that? That's
filter.
a filter. So in theory, you should be able to see everything in one go, click many of them, add to the menu, which replicates the existing classic menu functionality. So that would mean we could then avoid sort of cluttering the UI with additional controls that don't exist in other editors. That's one option. The other option is, doing something else. But I would definitely encourage everyone. This is an important feature, like one of the most important features. So I definitely encourage people to look at this issue again. I will drop in the chat again there.
This is a blocker, by the way, because it's just a worse experience. Like
Absolutely.
I think in general, things that makes it worse, keep the editor as experimental. Like at least we should be able to offer a basic experience that's similar to what exists right now.
Yep. I agree. Absolutely. Okay.
I shared the screenshot from quick screenshot by modifying HTML. Maybe we can display the add in between buttons to something like this. I shared this Slack, so I should have seen vision.
Where is it in Slack?
Yeah. So and maybe increase the focus area. What triggers the in between the center?
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay. I see what you mean. Anyone needs the link, that's the link to the Slack. Yeah, so we could put in, make a bigger focus area. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Good ideas. Okay, we're at 20 minutes past the time where we said we'd finish. Unless anyone wants to add any more items or carry on, we probably should look to wrap up. How do we feel?
Yep, I would just say this doesn't have to be a one-time anything. If you have any thoughts, after the meeting, just pop them in the Slack channel, and then it's always open for discussion.
Yeah. I mean, let's also probably avoid this spreadsheet becoming the canonical resource. So I may well at some point remove the ability to edit it again so that it doesn't do that, and just so we're all sharing in GitHub and the normal channels. This is purely for facilitating this hangout.
Yeah.
So but please do, like Dan says, jump into the GitHub issues. The more feedback we have now, the better experience we can have when we remove from experimental, and the quicker we can get there to get feedback. So yeah, jump into those issues would be really great.
Sure.
Okay, as I said, I will share the recording at some point we will post the recording up. We'll share some notes that we wrote up, and then we'll look to sort of sort out and reorganize the tracking issue around these things. And we'll be posting in the public channels as and when we're doing that, so you know what's happening and like how we're making those decisions. But if anyone's got any questions about what's going on and what the next steps are, feel free to reach out in the channel, or to me or Dan or anybody to get some input. But otherwise, thank you so much to everyone for taking the time to join today. It's really great to see you all. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we get to do another one of these in the future. And next one hopefully will be a bit more concise. But we had a lot to talk about, didn't we? So it's great.
It was very refreshing going through all this with more eyes and more opinions.
Yeah, sometimes sync is good, right? Cool. All right,
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks for joining, and
Thanks, everyone.
See you online.
Yes, thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.